I would kill you. You are a useless woman.
There once lived a man named Taiwo in a bustling town. He was built like an ox, with broad shoulders and a voice that could silence a room. Taiwo carried himself with an air of superiority, believing that his physical strength made him master of all he surveyed. At the age of 26, Taiwo married a woman named Bisola. She came from a humble family and had been raised to be respectful and gentle. On their wedding day, the celebration was grand and Taiwo's chest swelled with satisfaction. Finally, he thought, a wife who would never question him. But Taiwo's satisfaction was built on a terrible foundation. He was not looking for a partner, he was looking for a servant, someone to control. Within weeks of their marriage, Taiwo's true nature emerged. The first incident occurred over something trivial. Bisola had prepared his favorite meal, but when she served it, Taiwo claimed it was too salty. "Are you trying to poison me, woman?" he bellowed, though the food tasted perfectly fine. "I'm so sorry, my husband. Please, let me prepare something else," Bisola pleaded, her voice trembling. "Sorry? You should have gotten it right the first time." And with that, Taiwo slapped her across the face. Bisola stood there stunned, her cheeks stinging. This was the man she had married, the man who had promised to protect her. From that day forward, Taiwo found fault in everything Bisola did. The house wasn't clean enough, the clothes weren't ironed properly, she walked too loudly, she spoke too softly. There was always something, always an excuse for his rage. The neighbors heard Bisola's cries through the thin walls, but they turned away. What happens between a husband and wife is their private business, they would say, shaking their heads but doing nothing. Bisola's parents, when they occasionally visited, noticed the bruises but said nothing. In their minds, a wife must endure. "Marriage requires patience," her mother would whisper, though her eyes betrayed her anguish. For 8 long years, Bisola suffered in silence. Her bright smile faded. Her eyes, once full of dreams, became hollow. She moved through life mechanically, cooking, cleaning, hoping each day that perhaps Taiwo might show her a moment of kindness. But kindness was a stranger in that house. Then one morning, Bisola simply didn't wake up. The local healer came and examined her lifeless body. Her heart gave out, he announced, but the women of the village knew better. It was her spirit that had been killed long before her body surrendered. At Bisola's funeral, Taiwo wept dramatically. He beat his chest and wailed as if he had lost the love of his life. Those who didn't know the truth pitied the grieving widower, but the women who heard Bisola's screams knew differently. They watched in disgusted silence. After the mourning period ended, Taiwo began looking for a new wife. He was determined to find someone even more submissive than Bisola. He traveled to a distant village and met a young woman named Kehinde. Kehinde was 23, with a quiet demeanor and soft-spoken manner. She always kept her eyes lowered when addressed by men, and her father praised her obedience constantly. "This girl never gives trouble," he assured Taiwo. "She will serve you well." Perfect, Taiwo thought. This one will be even easier to control. The wedding was simple. Kehinde moved into Taiwo's home with a small bundle of belongings. From the very first day, She appeared to be everything Taiwo wanted. She woke before dawn, prepared his meals perfectly, kept the house spotless, and never spoke unless spoken to. When Taiwo raised his voice, she trembled. When he made threatening gestures, she cowered. Taiwo was pleased beyond measure. He bragged to other men in the village. The key is to establish your dominance from day one. Show them who is in charge, and they'll never challenge you. 6 months passed in this manner. Taiwo grew comfortable, perhaps too comfortable. He began treating Kehinde with the same contempt he had shown Bisola, shouting over minor issues, throwing things, making her fearful. But Kehinde never cried. She simply watched him with calm, observant eyes. What Taiwo didn't know was that Kehinde was not the woman she pretended to be. Before accepting his marriage proposal, Kehinde had done something unusual. She had investigated. She traveled secretly to Taiwo's village and spoke with the market women, the water carriers, and the older wives. She heard every story about Bisola, the beatings, the fear, the tragic death. Most women would have fled, but Kehinde was different. She had watched her own mother suffer at the hands of a violent father. She had watched her older sister broken by an abusive husband. She had seen enough suffering, and she made a vow: never again. So, Kehinde accepted Taiwo's proposal, not as a victim, but as someone with a mission. She would marry him, gain his trust through fake submission, and then teach him a lesson he would never forget. For 6 months, she played her role perfectly, studying his patterns, his weaknesses, his overconfidence. She learned when he was most vulnerable, most arrogant. She waited for the perfect moment. That moment came on a Wednesday morning. Taiwo woke expecting his breakfast ready as always, but when he entered the kitchen, it was empty. No food, no fire, nothing. Rage building, he stormed into the bedroom. There was Kehinde sitting calmly on the bed, reading a small book. "Kehinde, where is my food? Have you lost your mind?" Kehinde looked up slowly and smiled. "Good morning, Taiwo. Did you need something?" Taiwo's eyes bulged. "Did I need something? Where is my breakfast?" "Oh, that," Kehinde said casually. "I was tired this morning. I decided to sleep in. If you are hungry, the kitchen is available. You have hands, don't you?" For a moment, Taiwo just stared, unable to process what he was hearing. Then fury exploded within him. "You worthless woman, I'll teach you respect." He charged toward her, his massive hand raised to strike. But Kehinde was ready. Years of preparation, years of watching and learning self-defense from a traveling teacher who had once passed through her village, all of it came into play in that moment. As Taiwo's hand came down, Kehinde caught his wrist, twisted her body, and used his own momentum against him. In seconds, Taiwo found himself face down on the floor, his arm bent painfully behind his back, with Kehinde's knee pressed firmly against his spine. Let me go, you demon," Taiwo screamed, thrashing uselessly. "Demon?" Kehinde's voice was eerily calm. "No, Taiwo. Just a woman who refuses to be a victim. You see, before I married you, I visited this village. I spoke with the market women, the water carriers, and the older wives. I heard every story about Bisola, the beatings, the fear, the tragic death." Taiwo went still, cold fear creeping through his veins. "You knew?" Kehinde said. "I knew everything. And I decided that you needed to learn what it feels like to be powerless, to be afraid. So, I married you. I pretended to be weak and submissive, but I was just waiting for you to show your true colors." She pressed down harder, making him gasp. "Now, listen carefully. From this day forward, life in this house will be different. You will do the cooking, you will do the cleaning, you will wash clothes and fetch water. You will do everything I tell you to do when I tell you to do it. You can't, Taiwo began. I can and I will. Because if you refuse, I will gather the women of this village, the ones who heard Bisola's screams and did nothing. I will take them to the elders. I will tell them everything. They may have ignored one wife's suffering, but they won't ignore the testimony of a second wife. You will be cast out, shamed, left with nothing. The choice is yours. She released him. Taiwo scrambled away, panting, his world shattered. This wasn't possible. This wasn't how things were supposed to be, but it was happening. The moral lessons learned. Treat others as you would wish to be treated yourself, for one day you may find yourself in their position. The strong should protect the weak, not prey upon them. And remember, there is always someone stronger, someone braver, someone who will stand up to injustice. Be kind while you have the choice, for circumstances can change in a heartbeat.